good evening. It's Thursday, July 6th, 2023, and welcome to our monthly Your Questions Answered. I'm Michael, KB9VBR.
And I'm Joe, KD9CJX. Good evening, and hey, we've made it halfway through the year.
Halfway
Nothing
through the
bad's
year,
happened
yes.
yet. No murder
gee.
hornets, no COVID. I don't know what else. We haven't had any riots or anything. It's been a great 2023.
So far, so good. Knock on wood. So
I probably jinxed it. Knock on wood, yes. There we go.
Well, we're a third of the way through the summer too, unfortunately.
I know. I think more than a third. I think we're halfway through.
Well, it depends. Summer gets awful.
Yeah.
Summer's awful fleeting up here in northern Wisconsin, so we try to take advantage of it the best we can, and it's going way too fast. But
yeah, well, I did get a little bit of a reprieve this year, so This is breaking news. I haven't even told my wife yet, but we're going to make it so our whole family knows about it, right? Normally, my Julys suck. For the past 5 years, it's usually 3 to 4 weeks of working 7 days a week, 10-hour days, just getting, the what kicked out of me. I was told today that I don't have to do the shutdown, that they're actually probably a little overmanned this year because 3 or 4 of the projects actually got canceled.
Ooh.
So it's like, I'm going to have weekends in July.
You're going to have a summer.
I don't go that far, Michael. Don't go that far. I do have one work trip coming up end of July, beginning August. I get to go to Ann Arbor, Michigan for the National Technical Institute for a training seminar for a week.
Ooh,
but
hey, that'll be fun.
It will be. I plan, if all goes well, Wednesday, I'm the only one of the 4 of us who does not have a class. And I think if I can sneak a radio into the car with 4 guys, maybe I'll get out and activate a park. That's the plan. So we'll see how that goes.
I got a couple ham friends in Ann Arbor. I could probably hook you up. So
hey, maybe we're pretty close to Detroit. Maybe they can be my lookout.
It's a college town. It's safe.
Ann Arbor is safe. You go a little further east,
Detroit's pretty good too. So, hey, we got people filing in here. Let's say good evening to a few. We got Reed, all the way from West Virginia. Good to see you in there.
West Virginia, take me home.
Don Z.
Hey, Don.
And Kelvin, and they're greeting each other. So good old 45. Good to catch you on the air last weekend. Shane. Good to always have you in here. Buddy Nathan, good evening. John. And Captain Wrong Way.
WB7 Victor Echo Quebec.
There you go.
Like 2 big old chunks right here, like chipmunk cheeks.
Yeah.
Do we enjoy 6 meters? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like 6 meters whenever I can get on. I'm in a hole VHF wise. So I don't get on a lot of 6 meters, but my first moxon, it was actually the moxon you made. Oh God, maybe 8-10 years ago.
About 10 years ago, that 6 meter one.
Mm-hmm.
That was that 6 meters is fun. Now it's the time of year, when you get into June, early July is when it really kind of heats up.
Mm-hmm.
And the one little tip: if you see 10 meters start to open up, be sure to always go up to the 6 meter band, because if 10 opens up, that's a good sign that 6 is going to be open too.
Right, especially with sporadic E-skip. That's that's always true. So,
Alberto was on last month. Good to see you back again.
Hey, nice to see you, Alberto.
Yeah, Lucas and Brandon and Don. Yeah, you're not ignoring us. So
you're not ignoring us. We're ignoring you. No.
I try to keep an eye on the chat the best I can, and doesn't always work the best. So, but if you got ham radio related questions, drop them into the chat. We'd love to see them there, and we'll try to get to as many of them we can this evening. We do have a couple of them. We do have a couple of questions that have come to me a little bit earlier, picked out. We'll try to grab those too. So, but otherwise, it's oh, you see some. We got a really great first Mark here, first timer. So good evening.
You know what they say about first time on ham radio Q&A? If this is your first time, you have to ask a question.
Oh, there you go. That's right. Let's see. Yeah, 45 says he hasn't made a 10-meter contact since May. And it's been a while for me too. The band is just, I don't know what it is about this summer, but 15 and 10 meters just have not seemed to have been playing very well.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the SFI and sunspot numbers every day, they're way up there. There's no reason why they shouldn't be. I just don't know for sure what's going on with that.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, we had really good 15 and 10 meter activity over the winter months. The 10 meter contest in December went gangbusters. 15, through the January, February, even March was just, it was stellar. But as things got warmer, it's just kind of petered out.
Yeah.
I built that 15-meter moxon antenna for field day. I was expecting, we're getting to the top of the solar cycle. 15 meters is just going to rip wide open, and it's going to be gangbusters. And I put the antenna up, and it was practically crickets on the band.
Yeah, they're all sitting at 21073, right?
Even that was kind of lackluster. That was just not the best. I mean, there was activity, and I did make a fair amount of 15-meter contacts on field day, and the antenna really helped. If we hadn't had that directional antenna, we would have really been SOL, because it was that's just the way the band was working that day. So.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to get out field day. I had too many things going on. That night I kind of just spun the dial a little bit, and 15 and 10 were dead. And I don't know what the exactly reason is. Even on field day, they should be hopping.
You should. There's so many people on there. I remember field days in the past when 15 was open, it would go until almost 10 o'clock at night.
Oh yeah,
you would,
and 10 would open up all day, and you couldn't stop making contacts in the south.
Yeah,
just point that beam towards Alabama and Florida, and you'll make 10-meter contacts all day.
So hopefully things will kind of turn around. I know we're not quite to the peak yet. It's probably about another
year to 18 months, I think.
Year to 18 months. People are saying it's going to be as close as 6 months to the peak, but I think it's going to be a little bit longer than that. I think we're going to, I got a feeling the way the solar cycle is going, we're going to have like maybe a longer plateau, and then it'll start going gradually down again. But,
I mean, realistically, we only really came into this solar cycle 18 months ago.
Yeah.
So, and it's 11-year cycle. So don't think that we're going to peak that quick. I mean, we're going to peak quick, but not that quick.
Exactly. So it's but hey, we'll see what happens. Hopefully 15 will shape up, and going back to 6 meters, we got to get some more. I got to spend some more time on that band.
Hey, there's plenty of 6-meter repeaters in the area too. So
yeah, there are.
Don't be shy about FM.
One of the things I've done in the past is I've set up a 6-meter antenna and then just crank the squelch on the rig and turn the volume all the way up, so then you can do stuff. And then when a station breaks squelch, the band is opening. And
yeah, usually I'll leave it on 5125, which is the calling frequency for sideband, but you can do that in 52525 as well with FM.
Yep, exactly. So all right, let's see. Don says here, anyone tracked the HF propagation tool online to see that Minnesota and the Dakotas have been in a hole for the last few days? Are you talking about the APRS one? I think that's the VHF propagation.
Yeah. there's been some band openings on VHF recently on 2 meters. Like even Wednesday night, I was sitting down in the shack and the local repeater was kerchunking quite a bit. And yeah, there were some openings going on there. I guess maybe the other question is the whole Canadian wildfire thing, does that have an effect on propagation?
That's a good question.
You know,
Well, with
because
that,
based on the sunspot numbers and everything, we should have really good propagation right now. But we've been having all this stuff. Is that kind of creating like an artificial D layer or something that might be absorbing some signals? I don't know.
That's a good question. You know, I would tend to wonder if because with that particular matter shouldn't refract or reflect signals. It shouldn't affect the ionosphere, I would think. So
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, or is it creating a layer below the ionosphere that's absorbing or attenuating a signal? I don't know. But I mean, it's like, okay, so I should probably do the full time out here. Okay, so yes, we made it halfway without murder hornets, COVID, or anything else, but we have had the wildfires in Canada. Okay,
yeah.
So sorry to our friends in VE land. So I just want to say that Canada let the magic smoke out. Oh, come on! Too soon. Hey, what's it all about? You hoser.
So yeah, it's a good question. Now I'm curious if anybody else has experienced that. Because Kevin has said wildfires affecting propagation likely, almost continuous opening between Virginia and Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Mississippi. Oh no, we lost you, Joe.
Oops. Hold on, am I coming back?
I can hear you. Well, I can hear you, but
it's my fault. I unplugged the camera.
Oh, that's not a good thing.
So I'm gonna shut off. I'm gonna restart my browser and I'll be right back.
Okay, I'm gonna take you out here for a second. So, all right, while Joe is reconnecting his camera, Kevin says on 6 meters. So I bet you the wildfire smoke might not. Yeah, it could have some kind of effect with sporadic E. This might be worth experimenting. We're trying out, on one of those really hazy, smoky days to see what kind of propagation you're receiving on some of the higher, the VHF bands and whatnot, and see if we can figure out if there's any correlation between the two. So really weird. Yep. Joe Joe had to get another beer. I think he had to do something. So hopefully, and I think he is back. All right.
Stop talking to me. I don't appreciate that. So I was fidgeting with my left hand. And there's a little tag on the USB going into the computer, and I was playing with it, and I just gave it a little tug, and she came out.
And that's all it takes.
Just a little tug. That's all it was.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we were talking about smoke signals, and no, actually 45. It's Diet Coke tonight. So
it's in a Diet Coke can.
No, it's just straight up Diet Coke tonight. It's nothing. It's nothing fancy this evening. I didn't even have time to stop and get any tonight. So
no. Yeah. Ellen is asking us, how was field day? So
I told you how mine was. I was at home.
Yeah, you were indisposed. I was up in the Chequamegon, Nicolay National Forest with Travis, and we had a nice little 2 alpha station going. Pretty good. I think we got about 200 contacts. We ran until about almost 8 o'clock at night, and then thunder rolled in, and we had to shut down, and it rained all night.
Did you
and
have a
into the
mighty
morning.
wind?
No, we did not have a mighty wind.
It was just
A
a
little-
minor wind.
Just a little breeze.
Okay. All right. It's all right.
But,
Fair weather radio guys, I understand.
But there was lightning, and there was rain. I don't know. We probably could have set up back in the trailer again.
Yeah. They kind of once you shut down for a night, you shut down for a night when it's a small operation like that.
Mhm.
You're done. You've been going for 8-10 hours. You're done.
And really, and truthfully, the only bands we really would have worked overnight were 40 and 80, and there would have been so much static from the storm. It would have, we'd have to deal with that mess. But
exactly.
Yeah, still good. The 15-meter moxon performed. We were just talking earlier about the 15-meter band, and 15 wasn't that good. Field day weekend, unfortunately. So the contacts we got on 15 meters really were, because of the benefits that directional antenna gave us.
Anything on 10 meters at all?
Just a couple of data, not a whole lot. Nothing.
Okay.
I had nothing on phone at 10 meters. It just didn't, things just didn't coalesce. And most of the data contacts were weak. It was just,
there's always next year, Michael. There's always
there's always next. That's right. There's always next year. We'll make it bigger, better, and wilder. So
Wild Wisconsin.
Yeah, 15 meters is my weakest of the 3 bands on field day, and no 10 meters. So that's you were experiencing the same thing we did. 20 meters was gangbusters. It was wall-to-wall signals, and you needed a wedge in order to kind of get in there and find a spot to operate. And there was still people, crawling on you on top of each other, and it was crazy town.
Yep. Yeah. And now with the new rule, 150 watts max, did you hear a lot of amplifier clicks?
I heard clicks, especially from some D stations, from some deltas, but yeah, fan in the background. Yeah.
Right. You can almost hear the lights dim as they're running full power.
Of course.
Right.
So, yeah. Speaking of contests, how has anybody been working the 13 Colonies special event this week?
Haven't had a chance again, but Tuesday night or the Wednesday night. One night was the Tuesday night. I sat down at the shack, and I bet you I heard 7 colony stations on 20 meters alone.
Oh yeah.
So,
but I got my clean sweep.
Did you get the GB13 COL?
No, those are the only 2 I'm missing. GB13 and TM13 is COL.
What is TM13?
France. It's a French station.
Oh, okay. I didn't know there was a French one now too.
Yeah, but I got WM3PEN, William Penn, and then all the others. And it was kind of a mix between digital and phones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, half and half. 7 phone and 7 digital. Between the 14 stations I got.
Anyone ever get all CW? All 13 on CW? That'd be.
I know people do that as a challenge. Commit to doing all CW contacts, or doing all phone, or all FT. A satellite too. Now this last year I think they started doing satellite, and this year they actually had quite a few operators.
Oh really?
Do satellite? Yeah.
That's hard because you only got about 12 minutes to make the contact. For the time of the pass, depending on where you're at. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh well, good for them. That's that makes it a little more interesting. Now they start doing that on 10 gigahertz. That'll be real interesting.
You're gonna have to drive up a little bit closer. So
10 gig or over. They're going to start in Maine and they're just going to work their way down to the south.
Yeah. So Bruce says, I did 13 colonies, all digital. The sideband behavior was atrocious. Exactly. That was, I like doing the phone stuff, and watching the spotting page for new operators to come in, so you can grab them while they're fresh and the pileups aren't horrendous. But some of the pileups this year were the worst that I've ever heard. It was just not because of the size, but just the behavior of people on there. Just
people hollering, people talking over the calling station. Just it gets worse and worse, and it's not the 13 colony folks' fault.
No, it's not the fault of the organizers. It's
mm-hmm.
And it's not the fault of the station, of the operator too. They're just doing the best they can. It's just the station's responding. Just, I don't know. They don't give a damn or something.
So they're all in it there for themselves. They don't listen. Mm-hmm. Especially if they're going by the numbers, guys. If they're going by the numbers and they're on 4, just wait till they get to 9.
Just wait. Take it easy. Yeah, chill out.
It's a lot easier to make the contact when they're going by the numbers and just wait your turn.
Yeah,
but people don't do that. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they come back and they say the Echo Delta station and you're Bravo Juliet. Don't come in there and say your call again, you dumbass.
Yep.
Just, yeah. I mean, if I were running the station and you were being a lid like that, I would just notch filter you out. I would. I can't stand that.
Sometimes, sometimes you get those people though. You got to get rid of them, but and then you work them and get them out of the way.
I would probably say Echo Delta. I'm not calling you if you don't shut up. I'm not talking to DED, Mike on the other side of the river. I'm just using your call as an example in case you heard.
Yeah, there we go.
Not that he's a lid by any means, but.
We got a few people in the chat. Let's see here. Kevin says, worked all 7 of the colonies and William Penn. No DX. You're the same as I. Yeah, it's those DX stations are hard. Even on digital, I just couldn't get their attention. And on phone, I wasn't able to hear them. Let's see. Need Great Britain on sideband. 2C and 2E on CW. So
counterclockwise.
Counterclockwise, I guess.
Concealed carry weapon. I don't know what Don's got there.
Yeah, the French station that was just added last year. That was the first year for it.
Typical of the French. They just come around the last minute and take all the credit for it.
Yeah, 5 and in the French. So humble station can't compete with the big guys. I know what you mean, and I'm in the same boat.
No, I don't follow that for a minute. 100 watts and a decent antenna is all you need, guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I use. And you wait a little bit, you use good, proper technique, and you guys will make the contacts. Okay. I mean, I have a chunk of wire hanging off the back of the house in a ballon. All right.
Yep.
And I have a good radio. I little bit of processing. I have the compressor on, and I have a little bit of a bassy voice, so that helps a little bit, I think. But you kind of got to play your strengths, okay? Like if you're a woman, your voice is worth 3 dB every day. Okay?
There you go.
Everyone's got a little bit different. Just work on your technique. Listen a little bit. I mean, if they're not going by the numbers, are you in 9 land and they're calling like Florida? Well, then you're probably not going to get in because he's going to take the ones. Florida might be a little bit better in his skip right now. If they're going by the numbers, just wait and then start listening. If he's picking up the first station that calls him, or is he waiting a little bit towards the end?
Yeah.
Listen to that a little bit. And if he starts picking up stations toward the end, wait 3 or 4 seconds before you give your call after he says QRZ, and then see what happens. You can play it a little bit. I mean, you don't have to get them on the first shot. It's cool when you do. I love making those, but remember the difference between 100 rod and 1500 rods is 2 dB. It's not that much. It's a couple less units. So
especially on the upper bands. Yeah, it makes a difference. You can. So yeah, so it's Great Britain has really been on CW this time. I tend to agree. He's been on digital a lot. See, Mike's got 12, only K2F for the 13, no bonus yet. We've got a little bit of time. It ends on the 7th. So
tomorrow.
Yeah.
One more day, guys. Can someone do it all in one day? I don't know.
One guy called, got a response, and had the nerve to ask GB13 CL what his call was.
Beavis, what's your call sign?
Dumbass.
Unless the guy just walked in, heard a pile up, grabbed the microphone, and made it on the first try. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's like walking in and you catch North Korea and you're like, what's your call sign?
Oh man. Yeah. This guy tell someone to move on because he wouldn't get into the log due to his behavior.
Yep, I've heard it. I've heard it too. Sometimes you just got to tell them to piss off. Really, I think you gotta.
I suppose work them and not log them.
Right.
But,
I know.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, Don said, yeah, they're calling for YLs. Then call your wife down. Absolutely. Put her to work. Make her useful. It'd be really sad if she came down and worked on the first call, then they couldn't hear you.
Yeah, there you go. Oh boy. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. And I didn't play last year. I did this year, so glad I did. It was a good time.
Well, you are casually employed, so you have the opportunity to do that.
Casually employed. Just turn the radio on, and then just kind of keep an eye on that spotting page, so you can, if you see a new one come up, and
yeah, the spotting page does make it a heck of a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But I think most of them I got were either on Sunday, Tuesday the 4th, and then either earlier in the morning or towards the evening. So it wasn't like I got one during the lunch hour. So
Was it your
wasn't like
lunch?
Yeah, so I wasn't sitting in front of the radio all day. Oh boy!
It takes a while for those videos to render, doesn't it?
It does. That's when I go do something else, but they upload really fast now that I got fiber.
Perfect.
All right, we're at the bottom of the hour here, so we're going to take a break and thank our sponsors and whatnot, because there's a very important group of people that help keep the wheels rolling on this crazy train called Ham Radio Q&A, and that's our patrons over at patreon.com. And we got some new ones. We got a lot of new ones actually that came through in the month of June. At the supporter and friend levels, we just got one each. Glenn and Chip, thank you so much for your support. It's really appreciated. But we got like 6 new associate producers, so I think I'm going to have to get a new card here to get everybody in, because we've got all of the new ones this year: John Young, Michael, the other Michael Radzicki, Paul Raimondi, and Mark Martins. A lot of Mikes and Martins here. This is crazy. And of course, all of our other continuing patrons, including Bill, Andy Russell, Dave White, Brian Levy, Grand Gray, Joe Marhine, and Lyle. So thank you so much, all of our patrons. I'll close this here. Of course, you can become a patron too by and support the mission to help educate and inspire the amateur radio community at patreon.com/KB9VBR antennas.
Give till it hurts, my flock. I can heal your antenna.
What's that movie with Steve Martin where he plays a tent show preacher? Leap of Faith.
Here, I can feel your 5'9". I can feel your 5'9". The DX is coming for you. The DX Lord is coming for you.
Oh, man.
Oh, hallelujah. Can I get a CQ?
Let me give you a CQ. We'll give you a CQ, but we'll give you a quick word from our sponsors. KB9 VBR antennas are simple, effective, and affordable VHF and UHF antennas for amateur radio, MURS, public safety, and GMRS. Made in the USA with quality parts. Get yours online at jpole-antenna.com. Take a few to let Joe get another Coke.
Diet Coke. I left the regular Coke at the White House, guys. Oh!
Whoa! I thought we weren't going to go there.
I had to. No, I've not been at the White House any time recently, so that wasn't mine.
Not that I recall, nonetheless. So
I do not recall.
We've had some questions come in on the chat. I thought I would grab up. I kind of flagged them here so we could double back and grab them. First one, Jeff asked, if you want to do field day by yourself, how do you acquire a field day call sign and section number? So good question. Really, for field day, you don't need a special call sign. A lot of clubs go out, of course, and they'll use their club calls because then everybody under that umbrella can easily operate with the club call at the same time. But really, if you're going solo, you can just use your own call sign. If you wanted to be special, you could get a 1x1 call sign. Maybe if you're going to have a partner or something too, sometimes that's helpful. Otherwise, if you're going to have a partner too, you can just pick and choose, whose call sign are you going to use for the event. And as for the section number, well, that's where you're located. So for us, if you're in the state of Wisconsin, our section is Wisconsin. If you're in
California, well, there's like 6 sections.
There's like, I was going to say there's more than 6, I think, but Texas, North Texas, South Texas, East Texas. So it's
there's an Eastern PA, Western PA. There's a couple other ones that are more than one. So just go to the AWRL website. They should have a section map, and you should be able to figure out where you're at.
That'll be, in effect, all of the sections and their abbreviations are in the rules right there. So it's easy as that. Our buddy Liam Bennett, I haven't talked to you in a long time, so good to hear you on with us this evening. How do I use a counterpoise or foxtail with an HT in my backpack on a table with an external mic? They call them, foxtails or tiger tails. That's when you got like that 20-inch piece of wire. And I think the easiest way is to take just like a little ring terminal.
Right. Like a 1/4-inch ring terminal or something like that. And doesn't need to be a real thick wire. It can be like 18 gauge. So basically, I'm going to break out my HT right here. I don't use them, but other people swear by them. So
I don't really use them either. So
you would unscrew your antenna. So the threaded portion of the antenna base right here, that's going to be like your ground, right? So you can just take the ring terminal, put it over that, and then you can screw this back on, and it won't short out to the center terminal, which is like your hot, so to speak. That's your radiating portion. And then this is actually 19 1/4 inches right about there. There's no inductor on this, so your tiger tail, or whatever you want to call it, would be the exact same length as this, and it would just hang down. So that's really how they do it. And it's just basically a counterpoise or making a dipole for 2 meters. So they can help. Again, I don't think they're really that much of a help. I think they may help more if you have a short rubber ducky antenna.
They would. Yeah. If you got those signal sticks are really nice antennas if you really want to kind of enhance and have a good strong signal with an HT, because that's a true quarter wave.
Yeah.
And as being a true quarter wave, though, I'm guessing that the counterpoise probably will give you a little bit of extra edge there.
So this is a signal whip right here. They're relatively inexpensive, and I forget the website that is it Ham Study Online that they support. I'd have to check them out, but it all goes back to the ham radio community. So check these guys out. They're very flexible. I like them. So if you put this in your backpack, this actually will, gets up. The tip of it's actually over my head, which is amazing because I have a huge head. If you haven't noticed in the video, there you go, signal stuff.
And,
so if you leave that in the backpack and you have a rat tail, the rat tail can just hang outside the backpack too. I don't think that would be too much of a problem.
Yep. And they support ham study. So
yes. So yeah, overall, it definitely ain't gonna hurt. I think they're a little cumbersome. Nope. The rat tails, not the signal sticks, but
yeah.
I think the rat tails are just a little cumbersome personally. You'd never see me at a public event, with the wire hanging down.
That's
just me. That's just me.
Yep, I get that. And too, a lot of times, if we're using like the local repeater, we don't need to, we don't need that extra bit of enhancement. So it's you can get by with just with just the ducky antenna.
Right. But yeah, on the other hand, though, if you're camping or you're hiking or something, sometimes every extra dB of gain counts. So
it does, especially if you want to use APRS or something like that. Then because you're at a disadvantage with APRS already. Using a handheld to send out your beacons. So if you can make a stronger signal any which way, it makes a difference. So you got a question here from Kenny. I only have my portable build. It consists of an FT891 radio, the LDG Z11A auto tuner, currently using an Edfin random wire, but curious on the CH7SS whip. With the tuner, can I run no coil?
So the CH17S, I think that's Chameleon 117.
That's Chameleon 17-foot whip. Yeah.
17-foot whip. Okay. So a 17-foot whip with a tuner really should work 10, 12, 15, 18, 20. Right?
Well, without a tuner, you can adjust the whip because it'll be a full quarter wave on 20 meters. And then for every band higher than that, just shorten the whip so you stay, at a quarter wave. Yeah. If you wanted to use it as, say, like a random, random vertical antenna, I think 17 feet might be a little bit short. You're gonna have a problem with 17 feet because it's going to match up to the 20 meter band. So you're going to probably have to drop it down to maybe like 15 feet or something like that, or find a length that's non-resonant for those bands higher than 20 meters.
Yeah, and I think at 17 feet with the tuner, you probably should be able to work 40. Especially with a good radio system, or in your case, a piece of screen.
The screen door,
right? I wouldn't say anything lower than 40.
Yeah,
but I think you could at least work 40 through 10. You could probably work about with 17 feet fully extended with the tuner. It'll probably tune fairly well on 15 and 10. But you can also just adjust the length and get the same thing, and probably be a little more efficient.
I think in order to really be effective, the 17-foot, like I said, as a random wire vertical, the 17 feet's going to be a little short. if you're about 20, I think you'd need to be about 25 feet or so. And then you'll be able to run 20 meters and higher as a non-resonant vertical antenna. Well, I suppose give it a shot, see what the tuner does, if it can find a match or not. But
Right.
it unfortunately, won't be the most efficient.
Yeah, other than 20 meters, but you shouldn't have to have the fully extended. You shouldn't have to have the UZ tuner at all.
Yeah. Your best, like I said, your best bet is just to adjust the whip lengths, so you can have, then you don't need the tuner, and you can have quarter wave for 20 and above.
Right.
Okay. Let's see, got one more here, and then sorry not sorry, I have a question. I only transmit on GMRS, currently have a KB9 VBR J-pole antenna. What benefits would I see with the common GP9NC over the J-pole? Now, is the GP9 I think is a ham antenna, isn't it? Or is
let's take a look here. GP9. Oh, it is a GMRS FRS antenna.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be there. So, I mean, realistically, you're gonna have.
I'm pulling it up here.
Let me look at the specs on it.
Well, I can tell you right now, mine is a lot cheaper than $265. So.
Yeah, well, there's that. You get some vertical antenna gain, but is that really going to help with GMRS frequencies? Not too much.
This would be a collinear style antenna. I don't know what they have for gain. Let's see, 16 feet tall, 200 watts. 9 dB a gain on GMRS. My J-pole is going to have about 3 dB a gain, 9 dBi versus 3 dBi. So that would be what? 2 S units? One. So what? Well, 1.5 S unit. So,
yeah, 1.5 S units, depending on how much power you're running. Yeah, I think if you're running, what's the max on GMRS? 50 watts.
50 watts.
For the base station. Yeah, are you going to see a difference, $200 difference in performance?
Marginal. So. It depends. It depends on what your, terrain and whatnot. What your area is like.
Right.
It's. If I was putting up a GMRS repeater, maybe, I think this would be a good, a good choice. But
right.
For home use, boy, $30 versus $265. I know where I'm going to put my money.
Right, right. You put your money in better feed line.
There you go.
Cut your losses down.
Yeah. Get a GMRS J-pole and 50 feet of LMR 400. You've still spent half the amount of money of this antenna.
Right, and your losses on GMRS frequencies are a lot less of the LMR 400. So
yeah. So. Okay, sorry's got a follow-up here. 50 watts at 50 feet high with LMR. I'm trying to get up over a hill to hit my repeater better.
Yeah, if you're trying to get up over a hill, it's all about height. The gain isn't going to help you at all if you got a rock in your way, especially on UHF frequencies.
Yeah, you might, a directional antenna like a Yagi might help because you can kind of knife edge over the hill, but no, I don't know. That's you might be in a real tough situation. What I would probably recommend doing is do some antenna modeling. You can, there's a website like Radio Mobile, and that would be a good place to start to I'll pull it up here. And something like this, you can enter the and that's just at I don't know what's this ve2dbe.com. What this site will do is you can enter in your location, your tower height, your antenna, your power, transmit power, and all that, frequency, and it will model all of those variables for you. And let me see if I can. I don't know if I can. I don't know if he's got any. Which the online here's the online version. You can just create an account, and it'll plot a map so you can see exactly what your coverage will be, and what it will take to get over that mountain. And that might be before I spent a lot of money on an antenna, I would do some modeling in a program like this to see if it's even possible to do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Sometimes just getting it higher too. If you're at 30 feet and putting another antenna at 30 feet, you're still at that same height. So getting up a little bit higher might actually be helpful. That's not always possible.
Yeah.
But remember, higher is better at VHF and above.
Yep. Yeah. Colin here says, yeah, the extra gain will help, but it's just not going to work in a hilly area is the big wild card. And he follows up with, you're better off with the lower gain antenna to get over the hill. So stick with the J pole, just get it up higher. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tend to agree with that. It's just, you're not going to, I think that, spending all that money, without either doing some simulations or modeling, it's I don't think you're going to be happy in the long run.
Right. So. And we're not just trying to sell J poles here. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're trying to sell J poles here. We did that at the bottom of the hour.
No.
But Michael's the first person to tell you that there are limitations to any antenna with the J pole included.
Yep.
Okay. So just keep that as a grain of salt as well. If there were a better antenna for this particular situation, I'm sure we would let you know about it.
And I would tell you about it. And that's why I'm kind of pushing, using something like radio mobile or some elevation tools, just to kind of so that what you're up against before you commit to spending a lot of money on anything.
Right. And like you said too, maybe a Yagi, maybe you can find a more direct a path bouncing off something with a Yagi.
Yep.
But then again, you're very directional with that. So if you have two repeaters at 180 degrees off, well, then you kind of got to pick and choose.
Yeah. But, all right. Spoutland asks, do you have any plans on making a moxon antenna for VHF or UHF? I did.
Well, it's funny you ask that.
About 8-9 years ago, I posted on my website plans for a 6-meter moxon antenna.
This is the flashback right here.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about last Saturday. I was on a live stream with Chuck over at Coffee and Ham Radios, and we were actually talking about that. And I'll have to see if I can find the link here and share it with everybody. So I built a 6-meter moxon about 8-9 years ago out of PVC tubing and wire. But I think, it'd be kind of fun. It's yet this summer to get something together for, say, the 2-meter band while we still have some good sporadic E coming up. And tropo ducting, actually, come July here. This is tropo season, and with those nice inversion layers. And we were talking, about earlier in the show the wildfire smoke. Well, you can thank that warm air aloft that's bringing that hot, that all of that smoke to our area. If you're getting smoked out, you probably should be monitoring for distant repeaters or 2-meter sideband, because tropo is probably opening up.
Yep, if you have a sideband 2-meter radio, tune it to 144-200 when you get those smoke warnings and see what happens.
Yep. Yeah, 45 says, Chuck has got, he's got a video on a 2-meter moxon. So, we should do that.
Right, and a 2-meter and a 440 moxon are small enough. I know a lot of guys use those on the rover vehicles, right up with the halo antennas too, because basically it's just a 2-meter Yagi. So you got an antenna that's about 38 inches, and it's got a reflector that's probably about 42 inches on it for a moxon. But the reflector is curved, or it's more of a rectangular shaped. So the antenna isn't really more than this. So you can get that on a roof of a vehicle and run with that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You can, it would be small enough that you could actually, maybe like handhold it. That'd be a good fox hunt antenna. So
it would be, yes.
All right. Let's see. I saw another question here. Here we go. Rob says, what would you recommend for a portable HF vertical antenna when you have no trees in the field to hang wire?
I mean, we're not Gomers for Wolf River coils, but we're Gomers for Wolf River coils.
Always a good antenna. That Wolf River coil, the 213-inch whip, because you can use just the whip itself as a quarter wave vertical, and then just adjust it down for each band above that, and then put the coil in line for 40 and 80 meters with the whip fully extended.
The Sporte Forte.
The Sporte Forte.
But there's a lot of antennas of almost the same design. There's the buddy pole, or the buddy stick. Chameleon makes verticals. God, there's so many of them. Super antenna, you name it. They're all pretty much the same. They're just a bottom loaded coil antenna, vertical, with a radial system. No tree needed. Small tripod. You can set them up in a park. Really the way to go.
Now, the downside on that is they're kind of designed as a portable antenna. So for every band, when you got a band change, you're going to have to readjust the antenna. If you wanted something at home that's, say, semi-permanent and doesn't require that adjustment, something like the DX Commander might be a good solution. What that is a it's a pole, approximately 25 feet, and then it's a series of folded dipoles for the various HF bands, 40, 20, 15, etc. And depending on which band you're on, that particular wire will resonate. But that can be all set up at once, so you don't need to do any kind of band changes or things like that. Any adjustments with band changes.
Or you could just have 4 Wolf River coils sitting out in your backyard too. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
25-foot vertical, with a tuner at the bottom. 48-foot vertical if you want to be really, really fancy.
Yeah, or a tuner and like a 4-to-1 balun. I think a 4-to-1 on a vertical, 9-to-1 on a end fed.
Yeah.
So there's quite a bit. What I would do, again, find a copy of the ARRL antenna handbook. It does not have to be the newest one. You can get one from the 50s. They still do the same thing. And just page through until you find something you like.
There we go.
I like doing that sometimes. Yeah. Hey, what year is that?
74.
See, I got one. It's this almost the same cover. It's blue, but it's like 1954.
Oh, wow.
It's probably got the same stuff in it.
I'm sure it does.
And I think I have one from 2010 as well. So
I think 2010 is my newest one. It's I'm waiting for them to kind of come out with a updated edition, because I think they've 2010, and then I think they came out with one in like 2017 or 2019. But
yeah, it's like the handbook. You don't need to buy a new handbook every year. Nothing changes.
No, but every 10 years or so, usually it's stuff comes in, stuff goes out. Those old ones from the 60s and the 70s have a lot of really cool things in them, though.
Yeah, stuff that doesn't require coax. I love it.
Yeah, there we go. So, all right, Joe. Well, I got a question. We got a question here. I'm sure someone's been waiting for Kelvin there. He's been hanging in the chat, and he sent me a question a little bit earlier this afternoon. He's got an issue, a noise issue. He's got on this station, he's got two 12-volt DC power supplies. They're both Samlex switching supplies. One of them handles his VHF, UHF, and then he's got an AM/FM car stereo, I suppose, just to listen to music in the background. And then a second one does the HF. Everything gets fed through a mixer, powered speakers, et cetera, so we can pick and choose what he wants to hear. When he has the car stereo on, he hears noise in the background. But when he turns on the HF, the noise disappears. So, and I don't know if that's like Kelvin's in here, is that like a ground loop kind of hum you hear, or is it a staticky kind of noise? Maybe describe it, but
yeah. So we discussed this one at length, and I had my own opinions. First of all, you don't need to ground a DC system to your station ground. You can ground the power supply chassis. You can ground your radio chassis, but you don't want to ground the DC to ground.
The DC 12-volt negative.
Correct. You don't want to do that. So what I would probably do is isolate the power source for the car stereo. Maybe run that off a battery and see what happens. I have a suspicion there's something between one of those power supplies and the radio. Just my thought.
I'm wondering if it's maybe if you're thinking it's interference, I'm wondering if one of the filter caps might be going bad on the power supply.
That's a possibility. I mean, Samlex are pretty good. They don't fail necessarily, but
they're decent. They're inexpensive, but they're decent. They're decent power supplies.
Right.
They've always got good marks.
Run that car stereo radio off a battery and just see what happens, and go from there. That's my thought. And then I think it's going to take a lot more troubleshooting and picking him out. But if you get that separate from everything else, then maybe don't bond it to the rest of the grounding system. Try that.
See if that makes a difference. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's 12 volt. It's not going to be a unsafe situation or anything like that. But just get that separate and see what happens.
There we go. So hopefully that fixes it. So this is really a strange kind of situation there. So
yeah, you could be hunting that down for half your life, but sometimes just getting it separate makes all the difference.
Yeah. So, all right. Had another one here. Question that came in a week or so ago to me, and as Ace here was talking had a question or comment about the moxon antenna, because when I first built my moxon antenna, I was using 14 gauge wire. So I got a lot of 14 gauge wire, and the spreaders they looked like a wilted flower. Everything was so heavy. So I tightened it up by using 20 gauge. I just rebuilt the wire elements with 20 gauge wire, and that made all the difference. And he's wondering that it said that you lose bandwidth with thinner wire. Be interested to see if you could find it. Would this be the case in real life? And
so what size did you start off with? 14?
14 gauge.
And you went to 20 gauge.
20 gauge.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, there's not a huge reduction in the surface area of the wire. I mean, there's some, but we're not talking like a lot. Your power handling ability is a little bit less because the wire itself just really can't handle the current. Now, you're only transmitting for short periods of time, so the duty cycle is pretty low. But on 20 gauge, I probably wouldn't run full power digital mode as I would 14 gauge,
Yeah.
but it's going to heat up. But the bandwidth, I don't necessarily think that there's going to be too much of a difference in that.
Not on the HF bands, because you got to remember that the wire thickness and bandwidth are all kind of determined by the skin effect. As the RF energy kind of floats along the surface of the radiating wire, and the as you go higher and higher up in frequency, what the skin effect demonstrates or does is that RF energy stays, kind of moves up, up on a higher part of the surface of the wire. So, if we're on 80 meters, more of the wire is going to be saturated with RF energy. If we're at 1.2 gigahertz, that RF energy is, barely touching the surface of the wire. So
right. And at 15, we're not using any coil or anything. So in fact, we have a resonant antenna. So you're going to have pretty good bandwidth to begin with there.
Yep.
It's not like 80 meters, where, it's the band itself is so big and the antenna is so big is that you can only get a small slice of that. So on 15 meters, no. Now, interesting, if you ran this on 80 meters, I'd like to see what would happen.
Yeah.
I think you might see a noticeable difference on bandwidth on 80 meters, but not on 15.
Not on 15. Yeah, absolutely. And I ran it on the, when I were building it, I had things on the meter, and with the 14 gauge wire, everything was 1.5 to 1 or less, through that whole 15 meter band. And really with the thinner wire too, we're in the same boat. It was still plenty of bandwidth to cover the entire band. So wire gauge really didn't make a difference in this case, more so with power handling.
Right. It was more for structural integrity than anything else.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, I with 20 gauge, I can do 100 watts phone, and I should be able to do 30 watts digital.
Yeah.
Without a problem.
Until things start drooping. Look like my wife's garden right now because it's been so dry lately.
Oh, I know, it's just been terrible. We've been watering, and I just I hate to see what the water bill is going to look like at the end of the summer. But,
right, because someone's city council raised water prices.
Got to pay for that fancy new plant.
Yeah, I know that water tastes delicious. It's not brown anymore.
No, it's not. Absolutely not. So. All right. So let's see. I got one more question here, and it's another grounding question. So this is from a gentleman by the name of Kenneth. He got his general a while back, and recently gave a radio demonstration at Boy Scout troop at summer camp, and it sent him back onto the path of radio, which surprisingly can do, especially when you start working with scouts. So his question is in regard to his station and antenna grounding. The room where my base station will be on one side of the house, while the antenna will be on the other side. Everything I see has the antenna and the station grounded to the same location. My layout does not really allow this. I have attached a sketch of what I was talking about, and a picture's worth 1,000 words. I don't think I got the sketch, otherwise I would have had it down here. Do I need to build a shack in the backyard? Or
yes, absolutely, you need your own shack in the backyard. It should be like a double-decker with a bathroom, a kitchen, a bedroom, and whoa, okay, sorry.
Or at least a nice chair and a beer fridge.
and a door to lock people from coming in, There you
go.
So you should have your antenna, or at least your antenna feed line, and your station bonded at the same point, and that's usually at your ground rod for your electrical service. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if you have an HF antenna, like a if you're not running a tower, then usually you just ground where your feed lines come in. Like you'd have some polyphasers right outside, and then they'd come into the house, and your grounding would be still outside. In a perfect world, now
That's a ground for lightning protection.
well, but it's also you do also have grounding there, right? A ground for lightning protection is a ground for safety. It is. Um, we don't want to think necessarily as a counterpoise in the same aspect of grounding and bonding to
Mm-hmm.
a station ground. Okay, so first of all, do you absolutely need to have them all together? No. The antennas will probably work just fine. Unplug them when there's storms. You know, remember this is amateur. This is not professional.
Mm-hmm.
If you could, then I would just have a couple polyphasers outside. The antenna coax goes to the polyphasers. The polyphaser is bonded to your ground rod, and
Mm-hmm.
then you have a like a number 6 from your station ground, number 6 bare copper that goes to your station to your ground rod as well, the same ground rod. That would be fairly ideal. Um, Are there other ways to do it? Depending on, I don't have the picture, so there may be a sneak.
Yeah.
Do you have a ground
I
rod?
don't think I got a picture, so it's
Yeah, I guess. Do you even have a ground rod? Because sometimes there's no ground rod, right? Sometimes houses get bonded to a water pipe going
mm-hmm.
outside, metal water pipe, or maybe there's some other sort of ground that you guys are using. So um, there's a lot of things there. But just because they're on opposite sides doesn't mean that you have to like move your shack. And we're talking like a one number 6 wire. You can get like 50 feet of it at Home Depot, and you can just kind of sneak it around to get to the other side of the
The
house.
braided stuff, yeah.
The braided stuff, right? So, um, but get on the air first and have fun, and then kind of work out the grounding later. Now, I'm a big stickler for grounding. That um, I'll definitely say that, but it's not the first thing you have to do.
Yeah.
So.
And I think Colin here, brings up an important point, because now we've been talking about grounding in the U.S. and you follow the National Electric Code, but Colin's in Australia, and they use a different power system, and local codes are going to be different depending on where you're living. So,
Multiple Earth neutral system we use. Men.
Men.
Men. Well, I don't know much about that. The VK system here. So they use a different power system. Right. So they use like a 240 volt system
Mm-hmm.
with a ground. However, in whether you're in Australia or in the United States, generally for protection, you want to have one equipotential grid, one equipotential point. So everything is at the same, everything that is ground is at 0 volts in reference to everything else. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, if there is a short in your transceiver, say the hot, whether it's 120 or 240, shorts out to the chassis, okay, and if there's nothing that takes that voltage to ground, then you have a potential that sits on the chassis.
Mm-hmm.
Then if I go and touch that, then I become the path to ground,
Yep.
and then I get shocked. So If we keep everything at the same potential, there is almost zero chance that a potential could build up on a metal device for whatever reason, being a short circuit or anything, and you being electrocuted. That's kind of sort of the main reason for a ground, right?
Yeah.
So that's why all of our outlets are grounded. That's why we bond our water pipe in case you're in the bathtub and something gets energized, right?
So you take that toaster in with you. Yeah.
Right. So what happens is because there's then a low impedance path to ground, that means the current will spike exponentially almost instantaneously, and it'll take out whatever overcurrent protection device you have upstream, whether it be a fuse or a breaker. If you don't have that, or if you have a high impedance path to ground, then what generally happens is you just sit there at a couple amps and you smoke.
Which isn't good.
No, that's actually the low current, not tripping an overcurrent protection device is how you get killed. That's why our GFCI outlets in the United States trip between 4 and 6 milliamps. They trip before because 40 milliamps is like the let go threshold. At 40 milliamps of current, whether it's 12 volts or 120 volts going through your body, you at 40 milliamps, you cannot let go. And that's a problem. That's a real problem. We're not talking amps, we're talking milliamps, hundreds of amps.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to really have to have a problem with that. Now, Colin says that it interferes with home safety switches. Okay, that's kind of what we have sometimes here in the United States with our GFCIs.
Ground fault circuit interruption. Yeah.
Right. Those older ones will trip. Okay, I've had that problem. I've upgraded those to newer style ones. I don't have that problem anymore. My wife would get really ticked off when I kill her coffee machine and I was on 40 meters. Okay. The other thing that we find now, I think they're a little more prevalent in European countries and in Australia, is the we call them arc fault AFCI, arc fault interrupting circuit, or arc fault interrupting AFCI. Arc fault circuit interrupter. There we go.
There you go.
I'm having a hard time tonight talking, and it's just okay. So AFCI is able to determine the frequency of a spark. Okay, and depending on what their frequency when it lies in, it'll open up as well. That's not a nationwide mandate now in the United States, but I think it is overseas. So there may be some problems, but just because they're bonded together at the ground does not necessarily mean that it in itself is the problem. There's usually either a ground loop or some other issue that's causing the it to trip. So, but this for safety purposes, both for a shock protection and from a lightning protection, whether in the United States or in Australia, is to have it bonded and have a same potential plane. That's physics, period. I'm talking as a ham radio operator and a master electrician. Regardless of what sort of system. I'll let you know, and we use some different. We have ungrounded systems in the United States. We have high impedance ground systems in the United States in industrial settings. But for everyone else, whether you're at home or you're at a tower site, you bond everything. Sometimes you bond it to the point of just redundancy. But that's what we do. So
okay,
I'm going to stick with that.
And that ends your TED Talk. So
it's not grinding the gears, but I'm just getting warmed up.
You're getting warmed up here. I noticed my camera battery's about to fail here, so I'm gonna have to get up here and change something quick. But what I'm gonna do is I got one last question. I think we can get this one. Scott says, met you at Dayton. Oh, I'm glad we connected here. What's the dimensions of the screen roll you're using? I use a standard 36 by 84 inches roll of bright aluminum screen. That seems to be the standard size if you go to Menards, Home Depot, Lowe's, and buy the aluminum screen. The roll seems to be like 36 by 84. That's enough to do a door. And try to get the bright aluminum if you can. Sometimes Home Depot has that coated stuff to make it sort of, so it doesn't look so shiny. And that coating is insulating, so you got to kind of scrape the coating off in order to get good contacts. But bright aluminum screen is what I use. It's like $8 a roll, not that expensive.
And when the dog tears it up, you just get another one.
You should get another one. Yeah, mine's starting to get a couple holes in it. I've been using it for a couple months now, but I just go to Menards and get a new one. Save big money.
Yeah. With all those 11% rebates you get from buying the copper there.
That's right. It all adds up. All right. Well, we're getting to that time of the show here where something's going to happen, and it usually goes like this.
You know what really grinds my gears?
Oh man, get your popcorn because I'm gonna go off tonight. So there is an individual we all know. Yeah, he's not listening tonight. Usually he's listening or he's chiming in or something, and sometimes he's on the show, and I'm just gonna throw him right under the bus tonight. Talking about Travis W9HDG.
Oh,
yep. Travis, you're gonna get your own 3 minutes cut here. Here we go. So it never fails with Travis. Travis is not a Windows guy. He hates Microsoft. Kind of like, I don't know, Nazi Germany hate. Right? Despises it. Nothing in his house runs Windows. So it's usually about the second week of June. And Travis goes, but there just aren't any logging apps that allow someone who runs Linux and Mac to network. Every year. And then after about a week, about the week before, he says, well, if I could just sit down, I know how to program in Python. I could just write one myself. Every year. And then he doesn't. And then they just use something and get through for the weekend. And then he doesn't do anything about it until 50 weeks later. And he says the same thing. Wow, no one's created this application. Well, first of all, Travis, other than you, no one else in amateur radio needs a application that allows networking between Linux, Mac, and Windows. Because, Michael's going to use Windows.
Because that's my dirt cheap PC.
Right. The rest of the ham world has a burner laptop, whether it's the $99 one you can get on Amazon or one you can find on Facebook Marketplace. Just go get one, put N3FJP on it, and just run it once a year. You're not going to start on fire. That is not the reason why you are going to burn for all eternity. There's plenty of other reasons, and I'll be right there with you, but this is not it. Just deal with the fact of what is out there, find a burner laptop, and play nicely with us. And I don't want to hear the complaining in 2024. That's it. Okay? Bye. I'm done. So it really is. It never. And I even mentioned I mentioned to Michael offline. I said, cue Travis complaining about logging software in 3, 2, 1. Oh, there it was, just like clockwork. So
he found a web-based logging program, QRUQSP. And so everything ran out of a browser window.
but did you have a internet connection that was, what's the word I'm looking for?
Stable?
Stable enough to use it all weekend?
Actually, it did pretty well. It did. Okay. He's got a there's a newish cell tower only 6 miles away, and his booster gave us a good enough signal. So it's
6 miles away.
Yeah,
it's like a 10-mile drive off the highway to get in there.
As the crow flies.
Yeah, as the crow flies. like from the high, like, and it's just like a little county highway, guys. Then it goes to a national forest road,
Forest
which is
Road.
nothing more than an abandoned logging railroad that they just graded a little bit more.
Yep.
Okay. And it's a good 10 miles in as the crow flies. So where 6 miles away there was a tower, I don't know, because there's nothing out there. I don't think there's a power pole out there. There's a reason why the U.S. Navy built the radio system to contact the subs to nuke the Earth out there, because there is nothing.
There's nothing out there. That's
Okay.
right.
So I guess whatever you guys got, if it worked, it worked.
It worked.
So we'll see. No, so DP, don't these run with wine? You can't run N3FJP with wine. I think it's because of the language it was written in.
It's because of the database. The old, back when it was written in Visual Basic and it had that old style access style tables, it would run under wine. But when they moved to, I don't know what it's called now, the Microsoft development environment.
Yeah, I remember what it was called. I just can't think of it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So it hasn't run in wine in a long time. 45 Auto's right. Yeah. There is no noise floor. It's
there is no
like,
noise.
Ooh.
It's a noise basement is what it is.
You can hear a mouse fart 5 miles away if you got a good radio.
It's beautiful. It's great to be on the air out there, but
right.
Yeah.
The most noise that we hear is that because Travis and Michael have solar, so sometimes you get a little bit of switching noise, but it ain't bad, and we can always just turn that off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or when he's charging stuff with his inverter, sometimes that'll make a noise.
Someone's got a generator in the campground. Sometimes you get a little noise too, but it's never bad. I mean, if it's S1, and it's never a bad chop. So
nope. Beautiful place.
Yep.
So, all right. I'm gonna grab a couple follow-ups here. Nathan was asking, sorry, bond all DC stuff together, but not to earth ground.
Okay, so we got to be real careful here how we're talking about things. You're bonding the chassis. Okay, so in a this is United States, your standard 3-prong plug, 15 amp 3-prong plug that's got the ground. That ground is continuity to the metal box of your device, generally speaking. Okay, so in the event that something were to short out, it would go to ground. Now, your DC system, the DC side of that transformer, the secondary, is not bonded to ground, but the chassis is. Okay, and you're bonding the chassis of your radio to ground. You never want to take the negative. You never want to take the negative of a DC system and bond that to ground. You don't. It's a little bit different in like an automobile world where the chassis itself is the negative path back to the battery, but that's not grounded. That's just bonded.
That's just bonded. Yeah.
There's a difference between a ground and a bond to ground, or a bond to a general ground bus. Okay. But so back to your question. Your question is kind of misnomer because it's not really worded correctly. Your system is all bonded together. But when you say DC, we think you think that you were grounding like an AC system. We have grounding, like the neutral is bonded to ground. We do not bond a negative in a DC system to ground. Yeah, I'm clarifying for you, Nathan. Nathan, are you from the Wausau area?
He's from Wausau. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I don't think I've met you, Nathan, but sometime we'll get together and I'll explain a little bit further to you. So.
Yeah. And of course, ask 10 hams about ground, you get 10 different answers.
Yeah, but I'm right. And we finally lost Michael, so he's got to change out his battery now. So in the meantime, I will remind you that I am right. And I don't have the ability, I don't have the control here to do this. I do want to say to James, KH2SR, I believe you were the creator of the web logging. And thank you very much. We'll have to look into that a little bit more. In fact, let us know if you're making any updates. So we'll tell Travis about it so he's a little more happier next year. And James, if he does not complain next year because of your application, I might buy you a cocktail, maybe two of them. We'll see what happens. There he is. Hey,
So
the battery finally died. You do not
Well,
want to know what I said about you.
so I'm supposed to be running off of USB power, but for some reason it didn't kick in. And but yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, Joe, you're right because you're the master electrician. So it's
I'm something.
You're something or other.
James, K2SR. What did you create?
No. Oh, wait. Let me get back up to James's.
Yeah, he said a review of the product. I thought he did the
here it is.
No, wait.
He did this. It's a big mat.
Oh, the mat.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah.
James, I need one of those.
So it's my drink's been resting on it tonight. It works really well. So
see, that was your problem. You had a drink and you didn't plug in the camera.
Man.
Diet Coke. I've had two of these, and right after you get done here, I got to go someplace.
Quirky QRP. He's got a store in Etsy. You can get these mats. So it's really handy. So, all right. But, well, I think we kind of solved the world's problems this evening. Thanks a lot, everybody. Our next live stream will be on Tuesday, August 3rd.
Tuesday, August 3rd?
Thursday, August 3rd.
Here we go. Okay. Well, you have fun with that. I will be in Ann Arbor, Michigan that weekend or that week in total. So I'm sure either Dave or Travis, maybe Travis will have what grinds his gears and he'll talk about me.
Brent, you just missed Joe's gears. So
you missed him.
Gonna have to hit rewind.
Trail of dust. Ground up gears.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, everybody. It's been a pleasure, and have fun. Have a fun weekend, and the rest of the summer. We'll see you all in August.
Yep.
I'm Michael, KB9VBR.
And I'm Joe, KD9CJX 73.
73. Have a great evening.